Welcome to our regularly scheduled trustee meeting for Monday, October 24th, 2022, 5 p.m. or so. Would all those that can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We have an agenda for today's meeting. Are there any additions or corrections?
Yes, Board, I have one under minutes. I'd like to add October 11th, regular trustee meeting, please.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the agenda for the October 24th, 2022 meeting as amended.
Second.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Crutz.
Yes.
Trustee Walls.
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $369,094.48 for the October 19th, 2022 payroll.
Second.
Trustee Crutz.
Yes.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Walls.
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the payments listing report in the amount of $171,055.39 for warrants through 10/24/22.
Second.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Crutz.
Yes.
Trustee Walls.
Yes. We have minutes for the October 11th, 2022 regular trustee meeting. Are there any additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the regular trustee meeting on October 11th, 2022 as presented.
Second.
Trustee Crutz.
Yes.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Walls.
Yes. Okay. Chief, it's up to you now.
Well, good evening, Board. Thank you for making time for us tonight. It's an exciting evening. We have two personnel issues we'd like to bring to you. And the first is the filling of a lieutenant's position on our authorized staffing level. So it is my honor to recommend for promotion tonight the position of lieutenant, a member who demonstrates the knowledge and skills that exemplify the professionalism and pride of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department and our commitment to the citizens of Beavercreek. The position of lieutenant is charged with managing the day-to-day operations and readiness of the individual fire stations and personnel, lead their personnel in training, initiating and monitoring task level assignments at various emergencies, managing programs and program budgets, and overseeing the development of the personnel they work beside. Lieutenants report to their shift's captain. Tonight I'm recommending to you that firefighter Christopher Heaton be promoted to the position of lieutenant. Firefighter Heaton is a 22-year veteran of the fire service, starting as a volunteer with the Springfield Township Fire Department, where he resigned as battalion chief overseeing their EMS division after 20 years of service. His full-time experience began as a firefighter for Harrison Township in Montgomery County. He was then hired by Jefferson Township just outside of Columbus, where he served as a truck captain, then promoted to battalion chief. He moved back to the Dayton area in 2014 to serve as battalion chief for the city of Trotwood prior to joining Beavercreek Township Fire Department in 2017. Since joining Beavercreek, Chris has been involved in several projects, including being a shift fire trainer, being the gold champion over the training goal for the departmental accreditation, as well as serving as the department's community outreach coordinator, overseeing the CPR and car seat inspection services, and acting as liaison for multiple extended care facilities and high-frequency 911 callers. Additionally, Chris has had the privilege to serve as the secretary and now president of the Beavercreek Professional Firefighters, IAF Local 2857, a role he is passionate about to create a fair and equitable workplace while striving to meet the needs of the department and the citizens. Education and training have been a constant pursuit throughout Chris's career. He holds an associate's degree in EMS, a bachelor's degree in fire science, and is a graduate of the Ohio Fire Executive Program. Additionally, Chris is certified as a structural collapse specialist, rope confined space, trench, and ice rescue technician, and trained in water rescue operations. He is a hazardous materials technician, a CPR instructor, fire and EMS instructor, and certified in Blue Card Incident Command. He is a member of Ohio Task Force 1 as a rescue specialist with deployments to the Kentucky tornadoes and most recently deployed to Hurricane Ian in Fort Myers Beach. Chris resides in Springfield with his wife Mandy and their 5-year-old twins Kennedy and Elias. When not at work, he is usually found working around the house, fly fishing, the Mad River, or spending time with family outdoors or at their camper at Indian Lake. It is my pleasure to recommend to the Board of Township Trustees that firefighter Christopher Heaton be promoted to the position of lieutenant.
Thank you, Chief.
He'll come right out in front here.
Okay.
Is he here tonight?
Yeah, he's right there.
Okay. Hey!
I think so. Certification of promotion, Beavercreek Township Fire Department Lieutenant. I hereby certify that we have on this date sworn Chris Heaton to the position of Lieutenant of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department, and said appointment takes place effective October 24th, 2022. Need you to swear after me? Raise your hand, please. I, Christopher Heaton.
I, Christopher Heaton,
Being duly sworn,
being duly sworn,
say that I will support the Constitution of the United States
say that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of Lieutenant of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department,
of Lieutenant of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department,
Greene County, Ohio.
Greene County, Ohio.
Not me.
Missed a call, it was vibrating on the microphone.
Jessica.
Sorry. Yes, need yours on there too. You need to sign on the state on this line too, and then Tom needs to sign it as well. He only signed one copy.
Remember three signatures.
Yeah.
Put down just a little bit.
Yeah, one more signature.
So Elias and Kennedy?
Yes.
Okay. So Elias, hey, do you know what just happened for your dad? So, all of these people just recognize that your dad's very good at his job, that he's a hero, okay? Remember that.
Thank you, Board. And with that promotion, that leaves an absence and an opening in our firefighter authorized staffing level. And so tonight, recommend that we fill that position. In Beavercreek, the position of firefighter is one rich in tradition, pride, and honor, not only in the fire service, but society as a whole. The firefighter is a role model and the person others turn to in a time of crisis. Here in Beavercreek Township Fire Department, we expect our firefighters to be among the best trained, highly proficient professionals serving the members of our community with integrity, pride, and compassion. Our firefighters are most often the first impression we make as an organization. Therefore, we do not take lightly the responsibility we hold with a 25 to 30-year commitment to the community, fire department, or individual hired as a career firefighter. It's my honor to present to the Board of Township Trustees the newest firefighter who has demonstrated the knowledge, skills, and traits that exemplify the professionalism and pride of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department and our commitment to the citizens of Beavercreek. I am presenting firefighter EMT Basic Blake Ballard for his oath to the position of full-time firefighter. Blake graduated from Tippecanoe High School in 2020. He then attended Sinclair Community College to get his fire level 1, 2, and EMT basic certifications. While Blake was still in school for his EMT certification, he volunteered at the Tip City Fire Department, and once he received all his certifications, Blake began working for Tip City Fire and EMS part-time. Outside of the fire service, Blake enjoys drag racing with his family, hunting, and riding trails on his dirt bike. And with that, I ask the board to administer the oath to firefighter Blake Ballard.
Thank you, Chief.
You're tall.
Oh, he is really tough.
All right, raise your right hand, repeat after me. It's my pleasure to certify that today we are swearing in Blake Ballard to the position of career firefighter to the Beavercreek Township Fire Department, and your appointment took effect October 10th, 2022, so if you repeat after me. I, Blake Ballard,
I, Blake Ballard,
being duly sworn,
being duly sworn,
say that I will support
say that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of
and
Ohio,
will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of career firefighter
the duties of career firefighter
of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department,
of the Beavercreek
Township
Township Fire Department,
Greene County, Ohio.
Greene County, Ohio.
Congratulations.
There's 2 copies.
Your turn.
Thank you, Board. That's all of the personnel issues we had for you this evening. And with that, if you'd like to take some photographs, and then we'll ask folks to come up and join us. I believe the auxiliary is supporting us with some refreshments as they are known to do, so.
Okay. Blake, I just wanted to talk to you about the people in this room. People in this room are here because of you, that they want to support you. Your family is here now to support you, but all the people in this room are here to support you too. If you have any questions or concerns, you have people to talk to besides your family on issues that you have with your firefighting. So use these people as your friends and your coworkers and your family, because this is a new family for you for the rest of your life. So I congratulate you on behalf of the Township Trustees, and we're happy to have a new person come on board. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll take some pictures, and then you guys we'll have our meeting, and you guys have cake and
Let them eat cake.
I saw the screens come up. I thought we were good.
Yeah,
You need a red recording light in here.
Yeah.
it's right here. Go ahead.
On air.
If you'll excuse me, I am doing the quarterly meeting with City Council this evening, so I'm going to head there. And Chief Feaster will be here to answer any questions you may have on our section when it comes to it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Okay. Moving on to, if any citizens are here that want to speak, you can speak for 3 minutes. No citizens wishing to speak. Okay. We'll move on to old business. There is none. New business. Mr. Zaharian.
Thank you, Board. First item I have for you tonight is on page 4, is the Veterans Proclamation. We have a few additions this year to that, so I would ask this be read into record.
All right, thank you.
I'm pleased to read the following proclamation in honor of veterans employed by Beavercreek Township. Resolution 2022-1024-admin-E. Today's date, October 24th, 2022. Whereas on November 11th, 2022, Beavercreek Township will observe Veterans Day, pausing to honor every veteran who has ever worn one of our nation's service uniforms. And whereas we pay tribute to our veterans, we are mindful that no ceremony can repay the debt we owe each and every day for their service to our country. And whereas each time our freedoms have come under assault, our veterans have responded with resolve, courage, and a willingness to sacrifice. And whereas under the most demanding of circumstances and in the most dangerous corners of the earth, America's veterans have served our country with distinction and valor, and all veterans deserve our gratitude and praise for their selfless acts and for the duties served to our great country. And whereas on this day, Beavercreek Township wishes to honor employees of the township who are veterans and or are currently active in a military reserve unit, namely Sean Fowler, Coast Guard, Eric McComas, Army National Guard active reservist, Mike Mitchner, Army, Sergeant Christopher Moore, Air Force, Rob Negri, Navy, Ben Northup, Air Force, John Ostrowski, Air National Guard active reservist, Doug Ransdell, Army, Trustee Deborah L. Wallace, Army. And whereas on this day, Beavercreek Township also wishes to honor employees of the township whose sons and daughters have served or are serving in one of America's military branches, namely Division Chief Scott Dorston, son Jacob Dorston, is on active duty in the Marine Corps. My son Eric S. Kretz is on active duty in the Air Force. Travis McCool, wife Jessica McCool, is on active duty in the Air Force. Joe Milliken, sons Tyler, Nathan, and Dylan are on active duty in the Air Force. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Beavercreek Township, Greene County, Ohio extends its heartfelt gratitude and best wishes for success in their future endeavors to these employees and their sons and daughters who have served and are serving so well. Be it further resolved that we urge all citizens to pay due respect and gratitude to all veterans for their sacrifice and service to our country. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused the seal of Beavercreek Township to be affixed this 24th day of October, year 2022.
Second.
Trustee Kretz,
Yes.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Wallace.
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is, from the last meeting, is the regular meetings for next year. There was discussion to allow Ms. Wallace to have input on this. I did provide on page 6 and 7 two different motions, one to go to monthly meetings with those changes, or go to the regular meeting schedules, second and fourth meeting as we continue on. One of the suggestions that I would have, if we do the 2 meetings a month, that we do monthly reports instead of bi-weekly. Something I talked to staff after the last trustee meeting discussion. And so, for example, in January, the first meeting in February, so January 9th, you would get December's report. February 13th, you would get January's report, and so on all the way down. And then keeping the second meeting of the month where we have more of the zoning public hearings meetings available for us. There are 2 motions, both the same motion number, just in what direction we're going to go. I did have a little discussion with Mrs. Wallace to catch catch her up regarding what was discussed at the last trustee meeting.
I guess before we vote on this, the only concern I had was, if there's a way that we can start, sharing our trustee meetings in a broader sense than just the, we send it on, what's it called?
YouTube.
YouTube. There's so many people that don't use YouTube. And if we're gonna go to a monthly meeting, I feel that at least we should be more accessible.
So it's posted on our website as well. It's embedded, so you do not have to go to YouTube. You go to our
Okay.
first page and you just click play. The other, it's also on Channel 5 or,
Oh, it is being sent out
yes,
to, okay.
yes,
I
it is
know
on
that.
Channel 5 and then whatever the other two numbers are for the other channels.
Okay,
So, AT&T and I forget the other, so, but those are the channels. So it is on there. It's also on the city's website if you go to their live feed of the Channel 5 government channel. So, there are residents that do see it on Channel 5. In fact, some of my neighbors who watch it on whatever service they have, they regularly tell me.
okay, I feel better about that.
Yeah.
And I guess my other concern would be, if we have some major agenda items where I would rather have a work session if it's gonna be very, very long, so we can hammer out different discussions on a longer term basis. I'd like to create more work sessions if we need them then. That was my only two thoughts on the process.
We talked about the work sessions. If we were gonna do that, then might as well just have the meeting.
Yeah, I think there were, some of the discussion we had, Ms. Wallace, I don't know if you watched that session or not, or
I didn't
I'm
watch
sure
it, I read
Mr. Zahariff gave you the feedback on it, but there were two things. One was if we're gonna reserve our calendars to have a work session, we might as well have might as well make the work session a meeting. I did actually ask, I queried 14 different people and just asked their opinion on it. It was interesting, the feedback. Most of them did not know when our meetings were, but actually, some of them thought that our meetings were still in the early or mid-afternoon. But at the end of the day, the kind of overwhelming response back was that you're there, you're elected to be accessible. And that you should have your meetings unless there's an emergency when you would cancel it, which we've canceled a number of them, more than we used to, at least it seems, and for good reasons. But my opinion is that we maintain the current semi-monthly schedule. So
Would you be
we have
open
an
to
obligation
going?
we have an obligation to be accessible. We have an obligation, if we're gonna reserve our schedules, I book my calendar at 4 to 6 weeks out. And so if I'm gonna book it out, I might as well do the meeting.
Would you be open to the monthly reports then?
I have no issue with monthly reports.
Okay.
So
Ms. Dean?
the same concept we also had, I'm sorry, Ms. Wallace, as far as whether staff needs to attend. And I know Mr. Zahariff expressed that staff wants to attend, but that also results in comp time or flex time or whatever we do.
So
with
it's
them.
flex time, none of the hourly folks,
And so
except for one tonight.
at the end of the day, I've been to plenty of other public hearings and public meetings of city councils and villages and other townships as well. And department heads are not at most of them. So it's the administrator or in some cases, the planning director is there. But otherwise, and typically there's someone from law enforcement, but that serves dual purpose while they're in that meeting. Otherwise, I think the administrator comes with all of the information we need anyway. So if there's a special project or something where I don't think, in my opinion, I've thought for 8 years that we didn't need department heads at the meeting. If it caused an additional cost or if it was just for information purposes, because if there's no project, I understand the desire to want to hear how we respond on other departments' projects so they know how to prepare the next time, but we video, we do all kinds of things if there's a concern. And
Well,
they've got,
Teams has
they should
been an
follow the
advantage.
leadership of the administrator anyway, so the
Teams
administrator's
has
gonna
been an
guide them.
advantage as well. that, staff, if they're not here, they can attend via Teams,
Right.
so.
Couldn't we compromise and have staff at the fourth meeting of the month?
Second.
Or I would do
second
the
meeting?
second if you're
Fourth
doing
week? I
monthly
mean-
reports, but they can present via Teams.
Yeah.
It's
I see
it's
that
really when there's
issue.
purchase requests, like we have a department here tonight that's gonna be asking for a lot of money, so they're here. And they're gonna be,
And that makes sense.
yeah, and
But to have everyone sit through just for listening
Correct.
purposes, I
Correct.
think is redundant.
But I've approached this several times with staff, and they feel that as department heads, they need to attend the meetings either virtually or in person, to essentially go back to what Mr. Kretz said, hear the flow and the questions. And they can, yes, I agree that they can watch it on YouTube or our website. And it's also posted internally on SharePoint. But they've, especially the bigger departments, they like to hear the questions or hear some of the questions that are posed to me as well.
On the flip side, I'll play devil's advocate, Mr. Zaharia, and say that if we didn't give flex time, would they still come?
Yeah, because they're salaried folks.
Okay.
Yeah, flex, flex time is what we call it, but they're salaried employees. So whether
Doesn't
they're
impact
here
their
20
pay.
hours or 200 hours a week,
Right.
they get paid the same. So,
Right.
so, and it's up to, for example, the department heads. If I say, hey, you have to be here every day for 12 hours, then that's what they have to do. Wouldn't do that, but that's
Yeah,
fine.
100% agree. When a project is coming through, there's a lot of questions. And,
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
best to have more answers than not enough. So it's just more a matter of when there's nothing on the plate.
Yeah.
So
there,
having it be voluntary. So,
there is a motion on page 7 there. You don't have to mention anything about the monthly reports. I can do that internally, but the motion on page 7 shows the calendar. We would be moving 2 meetings in 2023. October 10th would be moved to Tuesday, and then of course December 26th, which as Mr. Kretz mentioned, that's one of the meetings we do cancel every year, would be, and if we have to have it, it would be moved to Tuesday. So the motion at the bottom of the page, the headers or the footers down there, but it's to move for 2023 to the second and fourth meeting of each month.
And just a comment to staff. So as most of you know, I've been here since 2014. And we went from that point where it was the department heads, it was almost as though it was a deposition each time you came to the podium. So we've evolved to a point where your input is unbelievably valuable. You're trusted. You're challenged occasionally by at least one of us. And then, but at the end of the day, you are trusted, and what you tell us, we believe. And we believe it because you've demonstrated that you do what you say you're going to do. And so it's not a matter of, it's almost a matter of expressing and showing that there's trust, because there's no cost savings to saying you don't have to be here. But it's really a matter of if it should not be mandatory, in my opinion. But if you see it as a value, your input is always valued. So just recognize it as that. So. Okay.
Ms. Dean, comments?
I kind of agree with Tom on some things. The department heads, if you want to come, I like having people in the audience. It's kind of boring when there's nobody here, and at least there's somebody here.
And we have such a
to
nice room.
stare at.
I thought I was entertained.
And it's entertaining for, you ask the questions of the department heads, and it's kind of funny sometimes. But as far as like the whether or not they're monthly or as they are now, I kind of feel the same way. Like sometimes the meetings are short and sometimes they're really long, and I feel like if we went to monthly meetings that they would always be long.
They would be long.
And I would rather just have and if we're going to have a work session, that defeats the whole purpose of having a monthly meeting. So I would rather just keep the schedule as it is now and alleviate whether or not we have a work session or having to block that off in addition just in case we need it. And also like for the firefighter oaths or whatever else, it may take a whole another month for us to be able to do those ceremonies and stuff, which is kind of like past the point.
Sure. So, for example, tonight, the firefighter has been working with us now, I think, for 2 weeks. So,
Right.
and for example, in November or December, you know, it would be once a month anyhow because of the holiday schedule. And if we don't have anything to bring, I recommend canceling. So, yeah, I'm fine with that. If we go to monthly reports, they'll save some staff time, and then we'll keep the same schedules next year, moving the 10th and December 26th to the Tuesday. So,
And my comments were, I was gonna come in saying I wanted to make 2 meetings a month. I just don't feel like the citizens deserve to have us on point and to be present. And so wasn't for sure which way anybody would go, but that's kind of where I was leaning. So I think we're ready to take a vote on
page 7
this.
would be the motion for the second and fourth Monday of each month.
Okay. Make a motion to approve, the Beavercreek Township regular schedule for the calendar year of 2023 to the
Second.
second and fourth Monday of each month as presented.
Second.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Kretz,
Yes.
Trustee Wallace.
Yes.
Mr. Frick, I do have a quick question for you. So when we swear someone in 2 weeks after their start date, are they bound on their start date to follow the Constitution of Beavercreek Township?
Well, typically you would sort of present them with that paperwork ahead of time. This is more of a formality
I
of
understand it's
service.
ceremonial, that's what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
ceremonial.
So,
Yeah, they go through
so
all
when they
that
started
in
that,
orientation.
they already
Yeah.
acknowledged that.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the time, they've gone through it before the way we used to, because they would start the day you had the meeting. So we would have them for the day.
Right. It's just an obvious question. If someone were to breach that and then say, well, I never swore that, I would do that.
Yeah, it's more ceremonial.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
That's part of the 100
Thank you.
pages of paperwork they get on the first day.
As long as they sign it somewhere.
Thank you, board. Next item is on page 8 of your packet. This would be the second step to what we discussed when we authorized and approved the compensation and reward policy for staff for 2023. As we noted there was some newly created positions in the pay scale and a new name for the department, which was the Public Service Department, and changing the name from the Township Road Department to Public Service Department. As we looked at and I put some history there, which took a little bit to find, but we were able to find who the first road department position is, although staff really likes the name Road Boss. So there was discussion at the staff meeting going back to Road Boss. But what I present to you today is an official name change of the road department to Public Service Department, since they do more than roads. And they do a great job at everything: road maintenance, park and cemetery maintenance, fleet maintenance, and of course facility maintenance, as we can see from sitting in this room.
And upgrades, yeah.
Some of the work they did. So the other thing too, that would take immediately. So after this resolution, road department would now be called the Public Service Department. Mr. Parks would then be appointed to the Public Service Director under the same terms and condition as his previous contract noted in the resolution there. And then create and it was already somewhat created in regards to the comp policy, but actually create a position of Deputy Public Service Director, and then identifying one of our stars in the department that we have, per the performance audit. There was a lot of discussion as the board, if you read the performance audit in 2014, talking about succession planning. One thing we did under the evaluation policy is to identify people and get them prepared to take future positions within the township. So Mr. John Schroeder was identified in the road department between Mr. Parks and myself as a person that would replace Mr. Parks upon his retirement. As you have seen, and not just this year, but somewhat last year, that Mr. Schroeder has been, Mr. Kratz, I apologize, what the words you said earlier, a lot of questions at the podium, so.
Deposed.
Deposed, thank you. Deposed, so he's been a part of that as well as of last staff meeting, he now attends the department head meetings, as well as the assistant chief. So I am recommending moving forward, moving Mr. John Schroeder into the position of the Deputy Public Service Director, beginning the first pay period of 2023 as outlined in the previous compensation and reward policy, and identifying that he will take the place of Mr. Parks upon his retirement. I do have a resolution on page 8 and 9, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I would ask that we do read this one in record with the history, and this is kind of a big change for the township.
Do you want me to read that? I've read a lot.
I could read, I have no problem.
I want your voice somewhat.
I mean, keep it.
All right. It's my pleasure to propose the following resolution, number 2022-1024-admin-G, a resolution to reorganize Beavercreek Township Road Department to the Beavercreek Township Public Service Department under the Township Administrator. Whereas the first employee in the road department was Thomas Ferguson, appointed road boss on March 29th, 1940. And whereas since March 29th, 1940, the road department staff has increased with the growth of the community. And whereas in the 40s, the road department was responsible for road maintenance and snow removal. And whereas since March 29th, 1940, the road department staff's responsibilities have changed to include maintenance of township roads, snow and ice removal, road curb repairs, pothole patching, street sweeping, storm drainage maintenance, storm sewer catch basin maintenance, resurfacing, street improvements, maintenance at all the parks, maintenance at all the facilities, inspection of contractor work within the road right-of-way, field preparation, grass cutting, abatement of nuisance properties, right-of-way maintenance to maintain safe roadways and sidewalks, cemetery maintenance, subdivision inspections, fleet maintenance, and whereas today the road department provides public services in the following areas, including road maintenance, park cemetery maintenance, fleet maintenance, facility maintenance. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Beavercreek Township, Greene County, Ohio agree to section number one, the board has determined that it is in the best interest of Beavercreek Township to create a public service department under the Township Administrator. The Public Service Department shall be responsible for road maintenance, park cemetery maintenance, fleet maintenance, and facility maintenance activities for the unincorporated areas of Beavercreek Township. The board approves Attachment A, the updated Beavercreek Township organizational structure. Section 2, board finds it is in the best interest of Beavercreek Township that Mr. Tim Parks be appointed as the Public Service Director with the same terms and conditions in the employee agreement approved by motion number 2016-465. Section 3, the board authorizes the Township Administrator to create an exempt Deputy Public Service Director position in the Public Service Department. Section number 4, in the 2014 performance audit, it was recommended that each department create a succession plan through the Employee Evaluations Policy Section 3, number 9, for strategic positions in the township. John Schroeder, road foreman, has been identified as the replacement through this process for the road superintendent position and has achieved on-the-job training and job shadowing. The board finds it is in the best interest of Beavercreek Township that Mr. John Schroeder be appointed as the Deputy Public Service Director beginning the first pay period of 2023 and will be appointed the Public Service Director upon Mr. Tim Parks' retirement. Section 5, the board authorizes the Township Administrator to add the Public Service Director position and the Deputy Public Service Director position to the authorized staffing list approved by motion number 2022-0110-admin-Y and to eliminate one road foreman position from the authorized staffing list for 2023. Section 6, the current staff and compensation as approved by the Compensation and Reward Program, Section 3, number 10 for the road department positions shall be adopted by the Township Administrator for the Public Service Department. The Township Administrator shall amend the job description for the road superintendent position to Public Service Director to reflect the new township organizational structure. Further be it resolved that all formal actions of the Board of Trustees concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution are being adopted at a duly called and authorized open meeting of the Board of Trustees on the date set forth above. Such meeting being duly called pursuant to and in compliance with all legal requirements, including section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Second.
Trustee Fritz,
Yes.
trustee Dean,
Yes.
trustee Wallace.
Yes.
Thank you, Board, and Mr. Schroeder's here tonight. Would you like to say anything or introduce your family?
No, thank you very much. Yes, my family, I have my wife Joanna and my youngest son Alex Schroeder. My oldest son couldn't be here tonight, so.
Good.
I want to say thank you.
Congratulations.
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 Thank you.
Alex? Alex,
That out.
do you know how much salt is per ton this year?
You're so bad.
Work in progress. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item is, per some of the discussion we had earlier this year in regards to compensation. The Board asked me to bring certain things to the Board to review each time on some of the recommendations that I had for compensation of non-union employees. The next policy I have in front of you tonight is the personal leave policy. All the changes are marked in red. One recommendation is to go to 4. I apologize, it did not show in red there, but on under 2, or excuse me, 1 personal leave. Staff currently has 3 personal days. I recommend that we go to 4 to keep up with other provisions in the union contract. The other change, there was a lot of discussion several years ago when I got here in regards to personal leave. When I got here, it was to be used in 8-hour increments. At the time, the Board I did recommend to go down to the 10th of an hour, and the Board changed it to 4 hours. But at the time, it was because we didn't have a timekeeping software, so it was a lot easier for, at the time, the fiscal office just to count for 4 hours as opposed. Personal leave can be used at any time. The intent of the personal leave is to take care of situations, come back to work as possible. That's why I recommend going to the 10th of an hour. So I apologize. Number 1, should that read there, it wasn't the version I sent to legal, but it was number 3. I was going to change it to 4. In regards to financial impact, I apologize, that was a question. It's use it or lose it. You do not get paid out for personal time. So if we have a non-union employee, nor the EDOs in the union contract, but in regards to personally for the non-union staff, it does not get paid out, so it's use it or lose it. So if an employee would retire or resign, they would only get paid out per the policies in place, the vacation at 100% and 30% for the sick leave. And that is the other change under number 1, where it says each non-union full-time employee. So we clearly identify in section 1 that this is for the non-union folks, much to kind of match some of the things in the union contract where they have 9 essentially personal days EDOs.
Are there any questions?
I had none.
Okay.
The only, I just have to ask, when I look at 1/10 of an hour increments, I think of 6-minute increment billing by attorneys. And I'm just saying, so I have to ask from a practical perspective, is that practical from an accounting perspective? Because in most private sector, it's 4-hour, 2-hour, 1-hour increments. I've never seen
10th of an
a
hour.
10th of an hour.
So 10th of an hour is everything we have between our 2 agreements, our contract.
So it's consistent
Yeah,
with.
and this will make everything consistent, so there's one OSL setting.
Okay, so you already have a system of management. That was my
Yeah.
only, is like, are you creating a nightmare?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
there's a motion at the bottom, page 13, or on your screen.
I make a motion to approve 2022-1024-admin-H. Move to approve the employee personal leave policy as presented.
Second.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
trustee Fritz,
Yes.
trustee Wong.
Yes.
Thank you, board. Next item is longevity. There is no red in this one because this would be a new policy. Currently, some of our non-union staff receive this with other agreements. This would be in place for all non-union employees. As you can see there in policy 1, section 1 there of the policy, it says all a non-union full-time employee. This is a budget impact, and bringing it to you now so that we can budget it. It would not be in effect this year. It would be in effect at the end of next year. So we would be able to, if the board approves it tonight, we would be able to make the adjustments or add the adjustments line items to the non-union folks that do not currently receive it. So we are recommending longevity. It will be consistent now with our non-union staff, once again, making it a little bit easier on our finance department staff, especially with OSL is one kind of, we would like to see things still kind of consistent. However, this does have a budget impact. And the question is, what is the budget impact? Between the general fund and the fire fund, it would be $24,218.24 for 2023, based on the account policy previously approved this year for 2023. These are non-pensionable bonuses, so we will not have to pay either 24% for Ohio Police and Fire or 10 for
14.
excuse me, thank you, or 14 for PERS.
But this policy, though, is specific to all, or you have non-bargaining unit, but you just mentioned bargaining unit employees.
So the bargaining unit has a separate longevity.
Correct.
Okay, so
This
the rates are
policy.
a little bit different.
Correct.
This matches the road department, and
Okay.
for the non-union staff. So this is what currently the road department, that table you see there, is currently what's in the road department. I am recommending that the rest of the non-union staff receive the longevity pay.
Okay. And so for the public that may be listening or watching or watch this later, if you can walk them through the algorithm to calculate. So if an employee has been here essentially through at 9 years, this is theoretically we'll call it a longevity bonus.
Bonus,
For
correct.
lack of a better term.
Yes.
That is taxable, that is paid in addition to any other increase that they received at the beginning of the year or any time throughout the year.
Correct. So, for example, our hourly employees would be subject to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
So that rate you see there, that's why it's based on the base salary, not at the end of the year, or for example, for tax purposes, what you made between your salary or your hourly rate on top of any overtime or double time in certain agreements.
Is this on top of any step increase?
So most of the step increases, for all the step increases for non-union are done at the beginning of the year per the policy. So yes, this would go. So for example, the 2020, that's why the 24,000 is based on the 2023 rates. So not the current 2022 rate. So assuming you already passed the compensation and reward policy in August for 2023 with the new pay scale. So that's what the $24,218 is based on.
So if the trustees hypothetically passed a 3% pay increase for the non-union employees and their supervisors, traditionally they would get one or the other as far as the step increase. They would not get both.
No.
We've done it
So
both
under
ways.
under the current policy that you passed, I think in regards to step increases, there is a cost of living adjustment now under the new policy. So instead of a 6% pay step, it is a 3% between steps. And then if the board for, let's say 2024 says there's a 3% cost of living adjustment, the people that are in the pay scale will get a 3% plus a step increase. Everyone else will just get a 3%. Now, some employees are entitled under the policy and the compensation reward policy to take bonus in lieu of payments. And we do have 3, 4, I believe, employees that will take the bonus in lieu of. So their base pay doesn't change. They take it either in vacation time or deferred comp payments.
But this would be on top of either of those scenarios?
Correct.
Okay, and a one-time lump sum paid in the first week or so, of first pay period of December?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay,
I believe so.
go for a motion.
You're up, Squeaky.
Make a motion to approve 20221024-admin-I. I move to approve the employee longevity pay policy as presented.
Second.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
trustee Kretz,
Yes.
trustee Wallace.
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 15 of your packet is the biweekly report, and Sergeant Chris Moore is on Teams here to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions?
How was the Haunted Classic?
So it was successful. I think that preliminarily it sounds like it's a of the small issues that happened. Of the small issues that happened, it was internal, just some parking issues, and that caused a little bit of a backup. But our staff was able to maintain and do well on Factory and Yellow Brick and Orchard, and 35 had minimal impact, as I'm told, with the lights changing.
Thank you.
The interaction with ODOT, any issues or challenges there?
No challenges at all. I can't say enough good things for them. The area supervisor, Mark Gregg, came out essentially on his own time on Saturday, even with his daughter coming home for her birthday from college, and he brought out his team, and they were involved. They had their drone up. They were monitoring the traffic. He had his laptop computer there to where he could take some of the time away from some of those lanes and add them to the others that needed. And so he was able to just get some eyes on direct, instant information, make any changes. So it sounds like going forward, they've done this twice now since the loons have went in place. And I think that it'll just be a matter now. They'll just set it to an event timing for the lights, and he won't need to be here. So, but his efforts and his team's efforts were outstanding, and they did a wonderful job. It was nice. We had 3 meetings going into this before the event with Stephanie Goff, the engineer, Ankeny Soccer Complex folks, and Mr. Drake was at all of those with his staff as well too.
If you can pass on, so I was in the westbound lane of 35 when it was obvious that it was in between games and they had let out, and we sat for maybe an extra minute is what it felt like, waiting for our light. But I had never, between 2000, my wife and I actually calculated between 2000 and 2011, we probably sat through 200 plus soccer games on that complex and field marshaled, and I'd never seen that many cars let out at one time. And all it cost us was a minute of our life. So it was impressive. So
that's good to hear, sir. Like I say, we're going to follow up again. He was going to go back and crunch some more data, and so we could have hard figures. But preliminarily, 35 didn't seem to be impacted very much at all. And this was also a record year for them. This was the most teams that they had ever had before.
great weather. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 32 of your packet with the resolution passed earlier We are recommending adopting the Deputy Public Service Director job description. This is new, so you see there's no highlights or changes marked in red. I do have one change after discussing this with staff. On page 33 of your packet, under one of the dashes towards the bottom, it says must maintain a Class A commercial driver's license. I am recommending to change that to say must maintain a commercial driver's license. The Class A is not warranted for this position, but CDL is.
Okay.
So that would be our change. There is a motion at the bottom of page 33, and Trish is here, or myself can answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions on this?
Alex, what is the difference between a Class A? What equipment do we have that is Class A?
None that I know of,
Okay.
right?
Actually, it's so you can tow a trailer, like with a backhoe on it.
Oh. We don't have that?
We do,
Okay.
we have
Yep.
staff.
Several layers of people that can do that. Okay. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the job description for the Deputy Public Service Director position as presented, or I'm sorry, as amended.
Second.
Trustee Kretz,
Yes.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Wallace.
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is the bi-weekly report for Human Resources. Are there any questions?
What was WEX? Again, I know I've heard that before.
WEX is the FSA.
I had no other questions.
I had no questions.
Okay. Thank
Board.
you.
Next item is on page 37, and I'll turn it over to the Fire Marshal.
I enjoyed being here.
We enjoyed that here.
We've been waiting for you all night.
John's, oh wait, crap, John's already gone. Two land use updates real quick. We had our second steering committee meeting last week, very successful. We did put some slides up on the communityplan.org, so if you want to take a look at what we covered on the second steering committee meeting. Also, you've been given a draft of the existing conditions and trends portion of it. It is in just draft form. Be identified. It will identify what is happening in the township right now, kind of provide that roadmap for what might be happening in the future based on some empirical data. It's a draft version. We've included it in your packet separately. So if you want to make a review of it, provide some comments to us, either myself or Max McConnell, we'll be more than happy to take your comments. The second item is just wanted to thank Dr. Ann Stalder, who's the Zoning Commission Chair. She got a group of WSU students together, nursing students together specifically, and went out and did a door-to-door canvassing to collect some survey data. I think it was a total of 6 questions overall. They gathered about 80 responses, which was significant in comparison to the baseline of responses that we've gotten so far. We included the video in a separate email for you guys if you would like
I'll be
to see it.
sending that. Yeah, I'll send it.
Do you want to see it now or?
We'll do it. I'll
Okay,
just send it
yeah,
out.
you can view it later, but again, we appreciate Dr. Stalder and the students for doing that. Again, if there's any questions on the presentation, they gave some valuable information to the planning next and the whole land use plan of that. The third thing is I wanted to kind of give a thank and recognition to all the community development and risk administration staff and the firefighters for their efforts in the Fire Prevention Week open house, which was last weekend on the 15th. Also like to thank the City of Beavercreek's Parks and Recs Department for their participation in the Tri-Truck. We kind of took a rough estimate. We don't have a specific way of surveying how many people we have there. Took a rough estimate of how many helmets we gave away, kind of one child per helmet per kid kind of a thing, and per parent. We came up with at least a conservative count, about 1,400 people attended. That's very conservative, so we think it's well over 2,000 probably, just a rough count. So the random feedback was a great event and well attended and well appreciated. So just wanted to give my thanks to everybody for their participation. So that's all I had. And anything for the bi-weekly, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Thank you. Any questions on the report?
Very quickly, just on the land use plan, and it piggies to the Perspectives 2040. So feedback that I am getting, a lot of feedback on that Perspectives 2040. I know they have their community, I don't want to call it interaction, but their engagement sessions. But there is a very strong coalition of businesses, builders, developers that feel that that is a farmland preservation plan. It's our largest, I haven't met a single builder yet that is aware of that plan, that isn't very concerned about that plan. And so just to keep that top of mind. On the only other question I had is, have we ran a budget impact analysis if you look at the 5-year trailing, as far as the number of permits for single-family dwellings, our 5-year trailing average was 113 per year, and we're at 38. And interest rates are at 7.5, and unit sales are down, dollars are the same, pretty much across the board. So if this continues for 1 to 2 more years, what does that do from a budget standpoint as far as your permit income and revenue? Just, I brought this up before, I'm just asking if we've done that.
We ran some numbers, and there'll be some numbers in the budget. Mrs. Molden from the finance director and I took a look at some of those numbers. In regards to the general fund overall, it's a very small number in regards to the impact, but we will have some personnel changes in the community development and rest department next year that you'll see some cost savings too. So we'll show that in the budget document in regards to that and the potential loss of those fees as well.
Okay. And obviously the complexity of some of the future projects you're working on is consuming your resources.
Yes.
It's just, can't help but look at it and say, if it continues and you build 113 over 3 years instead of 1 year.
Yeah, we anticipate next year with the developments that you approved this year, and I was going to say a comment in regards to that as well, but we have a development that's just moving pretty quick. We think that the first, at least model home will be, they were hoping by February, so February, March time frame. So, and there already seems to be interest in that development. And then, in fact, I just received an email today on the second development that the board approved this year at the corner of Dayton Xenia and Hilltop. So we anticipate that moving pretty quick next year as well.
Thank you.
And then, board, one thing I wanted to add is that we did do a groundbreaking ceremony with Artisan Homes, and there were some very nice comments. They pretty pointed me out and said, "You've got great staff," and they were saying that they weren't just saying that. They were saying is they work with several communities throughout the state of Ohio, and they wanted to pass on the great work that the Community Development and Risk Department did. Always available. Mentioned Randy and Max both. As I was leaving, I had 2 other business owners pull me aside and echo those comments as well. So kudos to staff for that, being open and willing to sit down with not only our developers but our residents as well and help them through any of the processes that we need.
I'll quickly echo that to pass on to Max. So the recollection I have of him speaking publicly obviously is at our meetings and when he was sweating bullets in his interview. But his presentation was excellent. It was very well prepared, it was very well delivered, and it was received. So he did an exceptional job.
Thank
Pass
you.
that along.
I will pass that along. He was quite noticeable.
It was impressive.
I'd like to see that growth in him.
Thank you.
Good leadership.
Thank you, board. Next item, let's scroll through here, is under the IT department, and the first thing we have is a purchase request for computers, and then purchase request for internet service. So the budget justification for the computer purchase starts on page 48. This is a budgeted item. We are recommending the replacement of 42 desktops that are out. And there's a list here. I got a spreadsheet in the packet as well. I'll turn it over to staff. Jason?
Yeah, the 15 points of light is very clear, but we've identified 42 computers that by the next year will leave Paragon's SLA and are past their projected lifespan of 5 years. So we've recommended a replacement of all of them. We ran the numbers, solicited multiple vendors, found the best price. We also examined leasing options, found that they were not advantageous. We also looked into the different warranty options. We found that for the number of machines we're looking at, rather than buying a 5-year warranty, it will be more advantageous to just purchase a collection of on-shelf spares to keep on site here, which we will be putting into next year's budget to keep the cost lower, as they won't be needed as the new ones go out. The existing machines will come with a 3-year warranty, so the on-shelf spares will just cover the 2 years before their projected end of usable life.
I saw you had a note that the interest expense on leasing versus buying was $6,930. What was the cost of the spare computers?
It varies on how many. It was about 6,000, about the same amount. I can't remember the exact number.
But I agree with you on the, it's, I think, better to have the extra computers than a warranty. Those warranties, they shut down in 5 years, and that's when things start happening. So you pay for all that for nothing.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and the all 42 computers will be of the same specifications, so they're interchangeable at any place across the township. So the on-shelf spares will be, with the Paragon on-site present. If a machine does fail, we could have a new one out same day if needed.
And these will all be Dell computers, and what's the size of the?
They are, Dell calls it the micro form factor. They're about this large, the same size as the current machines. We found, rather than having to reflow all those desks and the labor it would take to switch to a larger form factor, that was better. And also the micros were about $30 cheaper per unit than a small form factor or a slightly larger tower.
I was confused though on that trip light that's in.
That was a mount, so the computers cannot natively mount to a wall or to the back of a monitor. So that was CDW was suggesting that instead of the Dell branded mount.
Okay.
It's comparable to the same unit that Connections and M&J quoted, just as another brand. I prefer to stay with the Dell OEM because they work a little bit better. The Trip Light one is built for more computers and would have been a little bit more cumbersome in the current environment.
So you're only going to order 23 of those. I didn't get the process.
That's how many computers are currently mounted versus just sitting on the desk.
Okay.
And if need arises, the mount is. If someone decides that they'd like a mounted computer, we can purchase more mounts further down the road. But at present, there's only 23 computers mounted in that manner.
And you're positive that this trip light will be able to be used, because I know I've had trouble with mine. That if I didn't use a Dell mount, it wouldn't work.
The Trip Light was only offered from CDW, and we are purchasing from M&J Technologies, as they were a slightly lower bid than the state term schedule.
No, but what I'm saying is that
Compatibility.
the Dell mount works with the Dell computers, and I got a cheaper mount, and I went to put it on my new computer, and they weren't comparable. The screws were in different places. So you might want to make sure that this other mount fits the new Dells exactly.
This the mount that we are purchasing is recommended by Dell for this size
Okay.
computer.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions?
Are we only talking the first motion here, or we're not into the digital combustion?
Right.
Or are we doing both at the same time?
Yeah. So there's 3 motions there. Obviously, motion 1 is for the Dell computers. The next chief will talk about in regards to the digital combustion software. And then the third motion is to cover the labor of installing it. For the whole thing.
Okay.
So the digital combustion software is the software that we use with the Blue Card program and have used since we entered that Blue Card program over 8 years ago. It is time for an upgrade. It is not an annual subscription cost. It is a purchase, and we use it until it's no longer compatible. As we've continued to send instructors to Blue Card and cycle through that program, We are now at a point that the new instructors that come out, the scenarios will not work on the older software, and it's time for us to make a move. We projected that and budgeted that expense in this year's budget, and that included expanding our use of that program to allow us to use it more effectively while leaving crews at their physical locations and not having to bring them down here. So with the deployment of, or the recommendation to purchase the new workstations, it was more cost effective to purchase that software at the same time so it could be installed on those new machines before it went out, and that lowered our labor costs from that perspective as well. The software that you see there includes a network option. So the way the software works, the firefighter will see a scenario, a digital-based scenario on their screen, and the multi-unit screen is what we use for blue card incident management training, meaning I sign in as a ladder truck, Jason may sign in as engine 1, somebody else may sign in as engine 3, and it tiers our order of arrival based on our response time, and it actually changes the screens in synchronization with that. So if it takes Jason longer to get there than myself, his image on his screen will not change until he's there. The network component to that is one of the big pieces that we're purchasing with this request. So right now, it takes everybody to be in the same room and everybody to literally swipe the screen at the same time to start that timer. Trying to use that at all the stations at the same time is very difficult to get everybody synced up. There is a network piece of software that will allow that to happen so that an instructor can start the scenario for all users logged into that at the same time, regardless of their location, allowing us to keep the crews in their stations longer. The other piece that we're purchasing with this that we did not have before is the instructor software, and that will allow a company officer or any of our fire instructors to go out and take pictures of Beavercreek buildings and build scenarios for not only incident management, but other tactical trainings and critical thinking trainings using Beavercreek buildings and building the scenarios on the fly for ourselves. So that includes enough instructor licenses for each lieutenant machine and each captain machine, and then the service delivery chief as well, to be able to build those scenarios and then deploy those within the department for training. So it was a projected cost that we did include in the budget, and the timing felt that it was the most cost effective to include it with this computer replacement rollout.
How long was the prior computer software? How long?
We've been using the
had-
current version we
had it?
have for the last 8 years.
8 years.
And previous to that, we've had this software on a much more limited basis within the training division for over 12.
So it lasts pretty long.
Yes.
Questions? Okay, thank you.
One note on the last motion there for the labor, that is, what was intended as a not to exceed amount if Paragon is unable to install all the computers in the prepaid 16-hour block time. If we can install them and the ticket workflow is lower, obviously that amount of the spend will be lower, but that would be the full liability if we cannot install any of the 42 computers during that prepaid block time.
Thank you. Any questions on that motion? All right. Hearing no other questions, we'll go with motion.
Who's up? I'll move to approve purchase request 22-admin-0981 to MNJ Technologies for desktop computers in the amount of $49,060.45, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Trustee Kretz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
I make a motion to approve purchase request 22-fire-1515 digital combustion for incident management and tactics training software in the amount of $18,250, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Kretz?
Yes.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve purchase request 22-admin-0981. That's the same motion we used on the previous motion to MNJ. Is that correct? Or should that be different?
It should be IT A, B, and C. Which motion?
It's got the same number, just A.
It has
Yes,
the same
it's entered into
same
VIP.
purchase
Yes.
request. Okay.
Same purchase request.
Okay.
One has the
Yep.
Dells because it's under certain line items for
That's fine.
tools, and then labor's under contracted services.
So the motion is 20221024-IT-C?
Yes.
Okay. purchase request 22-admin-0981 to Paragon IT for project labor in the amount not to exceed $21,285, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Trustee Kretz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 60 of your packet is internet purchase. I'll turn it over to staff to explain it, but just on a broad thing, as the Board is aware, we have two separate internet pipes coming into the township with two separate providers. Current provider at this location, Spectrum is at the other, was our current provider here was also bought out by Spectrum. So I'll turn it over to Steph.
They were bought out by Cincinnati Bell.
Cincinnati Bell, I'm sorry.
It's even better.
That vendor, they offer fiber and microwave service. Their fiber network is on Spectrum's network, so in the event that Spectrum's network were to fail, both service providers could be affected. There are two different internet service contracts that we're looking at. Both are serviced by Embecca. They are a nonprofit internet service provider. They already have fiber in the area, so build-out costs were low. And we did solicit proposals from the incumbent, Agile Networks. We looked at Spectrum as well as AT&T for the same level of service. Embecca came in at the lowest cost. They're actually offering us 10 times the speed at a slightly lower cost annually than what we pay now, which was a big win in that perspective, as well as with Station 63's tower being replaced either late this year or early next year. Their current microwave that they use for connectivity will be inoperable. So Embecca is offering us point-to-point fiber from Station 63 to this facility to keep the station online and operational while the tower is serviced. So that would be a one-year contract to get that link working while they replace the tower, put up the new links, and get connectivity back that way. So the station will see no change, to their normal workflow, and they can stay operational through that time.
Does that connection stay physically in place in the event that the tower were hit by a tornado?
It does, yeah. It is completely separate from the tower. It's run, Embecca is what all the schools in the area use, so it's in the area, but that is run from the pole directly into the building, independent of the tower.
Okay. But the feed comes from 61 to 63?
Yeah, it's pole to pole from here to there
Okay.
through various streets, but it would be a private connection. No one else is on that,
Okay.
well, it's not, no one else is using that. It's not public
Correct.
internet. It's just a connection from there to here.
Good. So just a redundancy in the event of another disaster. Potential redundancy.
If we choose to keep the
Yes, if we choose to continue.
Right.
Yeah, once the tower is operational,
But the connection's there,
yes.
right, whether you choose to activate it or not. Okay.
And Embecca would be a 3-year contract for service to this building. Agile Networks would be terminated at the end of their contract. I forget when that date is, but we would put in a terminate that, and Embecca would take over as the primary internet service for this location. With a 3-year agreement, they waive the installation cost, so it's just the $500 a month for the service in this location, which would be distributed across the network, across the township facilities via the microwave network or the point-to-point link.
Is there a service level agreement for, in the event service would go down, that were prioritized?
Yes, it is. That was all in the agreement that legal reviewed.
Okay. You're satisfied with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There is a motion on page 61.
I make a motion to approve purchase request 22-admin-0980 to MVECA for internet services in the amount not to exceed $26,500, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second with discussion, the 26,500 is per year for 3 years? Or is that total for all 3 years?
That is the total for the
That's a total
3
for all
years,
For the
as well
3-year
as-
period?
Total for all 3 years
Yeah.
of internet service plus up to 1 year of service for Station 63.
That's what we needed. Thank you.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Kretz?
Yes.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes.
Good morning.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Board. Last item's bi-weekly, and staff's here to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board, next item is on page 86 of your packet is the biweekly report for the Finance Department. Are there any questions?
You've been working hard. I have no questions. Any other questions?
I had none.
I had none.
Thank you for a job well done on the audit, and appreciate your work. You too, Mr. Russia.
Thank you, Board. Next item is under the Road Department, and first is a purchase request for salt. I'll turn it over to Mr. Parks, or Road Boss, Mr. Parks.
I think that's the best.
New
thing.
jacket. All over.
I like
Road
it.
boss.
You can call me anything, I'll answer to it. Yeah, this is a purchase request to open a purchase order to replenish the barn as needed. We secured 1,200 tons for the year, but we do have the ability to buy above that if we need to,
At the same price.
at the same price.
Okay.
And we went, price-wise, we always go through Swap for G, because it's like 77 communities that go together to get the pricing. And so far, it's worked out in our favor. This year, there's a big jump, just because of trucking cost. So,
So we have it at 86, 81 a ton?
correct.
What was it last year?
I think we paid 58 and some change.
That is a big jump.
But when you look at it across the board, bid-wise, they're all like that.
Sure. There were some communities in that had a lot higher than we did.
Any other questions?
There's a motion on page 89.
I move to approve purchase request 22-road-0407 in VIP to American Rock Salt Company in the amount of $34,724 for 400 tons of rock salt, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Trustee Kretz,
Yes.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Wallace.
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 90. Are there any questions?
Do we have enough beet juice? I mean,
We already have a purchase order open for that.
Okay.
So we're just waiting to get down in our storage tanks so we can take it.
okay, thanks. Any questions about Public Service Department?
I had nothing additional. Thank you.
The only way I had is really, and maybe it was a planning question, so I can defer it but for another time, is do we have any way of as a township, to say no to putting trees in the right of way in developments? I mean, from a road department standpoint.
Trust me, I would love to have some kind of language where we cannot put trees in the right of way.
In between the sidewalk and the curb.
Right.
Yes.
Because
It'll
it
bust
all
up the
does,
streets.
it causes
Yeah.
street issues, curb issues, but it causes sidewalk issues, and it causes issues between neighbors when they don't trim their trees up, and then school buses and snow plows.
Yeah, usually in the wintertime, that's what we'll do, is go trim some of those trees up.
And it just, I don't know if there's anything we can do.
So one of the things you can do, and at least in regards to the PUD process, is we can
Add it as a
negotiate that and
condition.
put it as a condition that we don't put
We need to
anything
think that
between the
through.
curb and the sidewalk. That's something that we can do. Now,
Something.
we can put that as a condition, and then we can encourage the developer to also put it in the HOA regulations as well. So have it in two separate spots, but we can do that as a part of the PUD process. I don't think we have any developments that are not a PUD, I mean,
Right.
past approved, but, so that have sidewalks.
Just looking for
Yeah.
future,
Yeah,
forward
so
thinking.
most of the developments we'll see in the future will all probably come through a PUD process.
Just something to consider. I mean, for your sake, for it just,
And it's just the damage it does to our vehicles.
I just mean, you had school buses, you had your vehicles, and then you got neighbors complaining,
Correct.
they crack their head walking under the sidewalk. Okay. I had no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 91 in your packet, and the first is to recognition of the aggressive fire attack at the fire the other day. I was on that scene with Fire Chief Annaboss, and it was Captain Polis' shift, so I'll turn it over to Chief Easter.
Well, thank you. Yes, the chief wanted to pass on his recognition for the quick and vigilant response by the crews on October the 9th. Specifically, firefighter Shaw, who was an acting OIC on engine 63 that morning, and he actually quickly upgraded the response to a working fire while he was en route, which got additional resources sent more quickly, allowing them to be more aggressive with their fire attack. He also was able to leverage his medic crew and consolidate that crew with his crew so that they had more manpower on the additional hose and search crews to help control that fire and make sure that everybody's out safely. On that crew, firefighter Ostrowski was the operator for engine 63, and he managed both his own deployed hand lines, his own master stream, as well as supplied ladder 61's master stream. So as a pump operator, that's quite a bit of work, quite a bit of mental math early in the morning to do, but he did an excellent job with that as well. And additionally, firefighter Lish was the operator for ladder 61, who actually put the ladder master stream into operation as quickly as possible, being supplied by engine 63, and that's what actually knocked down the body, the main body of fire, allowing us to stop that loss. Captain Polis was a shift commander, and actually realizing that there was a delay in the chief responses because of being a weekend with our current response model, did a very effective job at taking that strategic command role, which is what we trained with that blue card model that we talked about earlier. So he was able to coordinate the attack and the searches and so forth to help make sure that we mitigated that incident as quickly and effectively as possible, and the crews did a wonderful job with that.
Thank you. I appreciate you telling us about that and the public.
Thank you, Board. Next item is page 91, is a purchase request for the replacement of records management system. This will take the place of two current softwares in place. I'll turn it over to the Chief to give you the history and what software we're recommending changing to.
Sure. So the fire department currently uses two softwares to capture our fire incident reporting and our EMS patient care reports. The first one is Firehouse software, which we have used here at Beavercreek Township since 2001. That software is now no longer supported. It's completely end of life to the point that the state no longer takes our export reports to them, and then by proxy does not pass those on to the federal FEMA for the National Fire Incident Reporting System. That's critical for us because to maintain eligibility to apply for federal grants, we have to report for our incident counts and what we respond to, as well as what our dollar loss is in the community, and we can no longer do that with the current software. So we have had it for a very long period of time. We have kept it up and maintained it as long as possible, but now we are at a juncture with that. We had a similar situation in 2017 with EMS reporting, which is what led us to move to ESO for patient care reports. Our Firehouse was no longer NEMSIS 3 compliant, and that's the state reporting side and the federal reporting side for patient care reports. So we made that move in early 2018 to ESO for patient care reports. The problem with ESO has been that when we tried to move fire reports to their product, they are also the company who purchased Firehouse. We had some difficulties in leveraging that data, our own data, to provide reports for not only the board but the community as well, and to do analysis internally for our own response patterns and needs. And so that led us to look into what our options would be. Our committee has landed with a recommendation to move to ImageTrend software. There are several departments in our area that currently leverage that software. One of those is Washington Township Fire Department, our neighbors. They are an accredited agency, so we were able to actually look at kind of what they're doing and how they're doing it with that software. It is a software as a service, so it is a subscription package. So the software is not hosted locally here. However, one of the options that we have requested to purchase with this is a local copy of our data that is replicated in near real time, so that we do have a local copy of our information that we can access for not only the analytics and reporting tools, but also the compliance with the township records management policies and records retention policies. ESO's product just does not offer the needed solutions to move that way. ImageTrend does also offer some additional things that we don't have now, including mobile inspections that the Community Development and Risk Department plans to leverage as well, along with some hydrant modules and things like that the Firehouse used to offer that we are not able to leverage in ESO currently, along with a mental health application. So one of the pieces that we don't have today that is kind of emerging within our industry is tracking your exposures to not only your physical health, but your emotional health. There is a module there that we would like to pursue with that will help keep an eye on what our staff's emotional health is and allow us to make some decisions while still maintaining some anonymity for the employees when they track that, and give them some insight into their own personal exposure over time for their particular health and care. Also noted in here, we entered into agreement with NFORS through the accreditation process to help be able to create the reports needed, with Firehouse and ESO being separate pockets, along with VIP and OSL being separate analytics modules, so that we could consolidate that data and provide the reports needed for accreditation. It does look like ImageTrend may provide all the reports that we need for accreditation process, and so we want to evaluate discontinuing NFORS in that process as well, if that's approved when we move forward. We currently only did one portion of the NFORS project, and we had multiple portions there to connect with each software. We leveraged just the Firehouse connector. We haven't enacted the rest of them. So we're only a portion of that initial request that's been expended. And if this works the way that we believe it will, then we will just not expend the rest of that and cancel that contract as appropriate.
Is this, the amount here, 59,000, is that for just 1 year?
That is the first year, yes. And then it does go down for the second year, and then there's contractual increases on the years in the contract. That first year has an onboarding cost that includes training for our staff, as well as the creation of all the records and all the fields that need to be put in, as well as taking 3 years or more of our previous data and moving it into their platform to allow the analytics pieces to work together.
How much were you paying for the other two softwares combined previously with the Firehouse and the, so you've been using that for some time. Was there a charge yearly for that?
Yes, so there was a service fee for Firehouse. There was also an annual subscription fee for ESO's patient care product, because that is a software as a service solution. With both of those, we are under what, that was less than what ImageTrend will cost us. So ImageTrend is a little bit more, but we are able to have the on-site local copy of our data, which was a huge piece. I don't have the exact number in here. I wish I did. I apologize for that. But it is a little bit more with ImageTrend. If we are able to take NFORS out of the equation as well, then that narrows that gap, if not covers the gap. I know it was really close when we looked at the numbers before, but we are looking at all those possibilities to be able to consolidate.
Having one instead of two will be beneficial, I'm sure.
There is a significant efficiency piece that we anticipate from a man-hour perspective. Right now, there's a lot of duplication of information between the two sets. Since they are in one particular platform, that information should be shared from one module to another a lot more easily than we experience today.
So the difference between the 59 and the 54 is the non-recurring training or onboarding?
Correct.
Okay. And the budget impact is, the annual budget impact is, you're saying, is negligible?
Well, choose my words carefully, just because, but I make sure that I believe we are, when we looked at this with Firehouse and ESO, we are paying about $46,000 annually now.
Okay.
So it's not
The cost
nothing,
did not
but
double.
It's, yeah, it did
It's not double what we
Correct.
were paying combined.
Correct.
But it's higher.
Yes.
But
And then
the second year should be closer, but then what are the annual increases? Because I did not see a copy of the contract in here. If it was, I didn't see
It was an electronic contract. I believe it was a 1% for the second year after that, and then it was, they have to identify it and tell it to us after that, because it's an automatically renewing contract. I know it's been through the legal approval process, but I don't remember what the specific annual.
How many years
numbers were.
contract was it again? I'm sorry, a 10-year, 5-year?
It was a 1 year. We can cancel every year.
Yeah.
1 year, okay.
1 year
But once
subscription.
you're hooked, it's kind of like the drug dealer. They give you the candy for free, and then you're.
Although I will say we've been with ESO since 2018, and we haven't been completely hooked like we thought we would be. And here we are exiting ESO as well, and that's an annual, 1 year to another.
Is there, and I'm just asking the question.
Sure.
And this isn't a question of whether there's a need to change. It's simply a question of, from a contractual basis, should we not get a 3-year that we can, if we have a 1 year now and we know it's a 1% increase, why not get a 5-year with 1% increases?
Well,
in the early out.
The only
'Cause then you
challenge
can
we have
budget.
with that is if this, we have purchased softwares that,
With an early out.
right, as long as we get an early out, I'm okay with that. My concern is if something else comes out that's, for example, for EMS reporting, there was a push in the Dayton area that everybody goes on the same. Now, Image Trim and ESO is pretty much both players in the Dayton region.
But what this 5,000 difference for the first year and second year doesn't include is our labor cost for the training. So we'll make a big investment, obviously, in training. The assumption is that we've done the due diligence to know we want to switch to it, and it's better than what we have now. So the only thing I'm asking is, based on our that we know it's what we want to go to, it's better than what we have. We know there's 5,000 of hard cost. We could project, but we don't know what our soft costs or internal costs will be for training. Can we lock in a rate for at least 5 years so you can budget with confidence?
We would have to go back and ask them if they could amend the contract.
We did ask that up front, and they did not provide us with a multi-year option for that.
Yeah, that's my only concern.
Sure.
So,
And that's been one that we've asked pretty much every software, and Jason can tell you that's one of the first things I always ask every time we can lock in a multi-year rate that we do. But we did ask that, and we did not get a response back from them on a multi-year. Obviously, a non-answer is different than a no, so we could go back.
I'd rather deal with a no. I'd rather deal with a no than a
Yeah,
non-answer.
that's how, I would like to have you go back and see if you can get a,
Is this time sensitive that you need an answer tonight, or you could wait in 2 weeks?
The time-sensitive portion is based on our go live. So if we want to end the ESO contract, we need to look at ending that within their 60-day window. And so by doing tonight, that would allow us to make that switch January 1. If we push that back, then we'd have another year of ESO essentially is the difficulty. And we've been trying to chip away at this since March. So we've been pretty diligently pushing at it. The other thing that the chief would probably echo on his concern is he would like to see it work before he commits to a multi-year. And
right, a multi-year with an early out is no difference than a lease with an early out.
Right.
So you're effectively leasing the software.
Sure. So it will take us a couple of months of training and build time to get it in place. So if we do push it out, then we have to see if we can get ESO to allow us to be a month-to-month versus an annual bill. And I don't believe we pay month-to-month now with ESO. I believe it is an annual cost.
I mean, Ms. Wallace, I would be more comfortable if we had a no than a
that's how I feel.
non-response. I don't know if
Well,
we could do a special meeting if we had to.
Could we pass this with the concept of you finding out about the contract and seeing if we can get a multi-year with a?
You can amend the motion and to reflect that. The problem is if they come back and say no,
then we know no.
Then the answer is no.
They have no incentive to say yes.
If they say yes, then I can move forward with it. By getting a special meeting now, we're hot and heavy in budgets. So for us, will be a little more difficult. My staff, not so much the elected officials. So, I mean, our first meeting with, our next meeting is, I'll be out of town, the 14th of November.
But Ms. Frick, you could approve it. We could make a motion hypothetically to say that we approve this based on a 3-year contract or whatever it is with 1% increases per year.
And a way out.
We could essentially attach
But if they say
conditions
no,
to
then
approval.
what? So you're gonna do it in the alternative?
You're gonna have
You'd
to put it
do
in
the alternative.
You're gonna have to amend the motion to list both.
Correct.
Because if they say no, then we move forward with current terms and conditions. If they say yes, then that's fine.
Right, but if Chief Heister were to go back and say the board approved it, but they're asking for a multi-year contract, they have no incentive to give a multi-year contract. If Chief Heister goes back and says the board approved it, subject to a 3-year contract with 1-year increases per year and an early out clause at the end of the first year, then they have the decision to make, do they want our business?
That is correct.
And then if they say no, though,
And then if they say
Then
no, then
he's
he's
stuck
back
with-
to,
What we currently
ESO.
have.
You're stuck with ESO, right? When do we have to get out of ESO?
We need to give a 60-day notice.
60-day notice.
And you were planning on giving that to them when, this month?
So that we would not be billed in January.
Oh, January.
Yeah, we
Kind of,
receive
yeah, we
our bill
box
from ESO
ourselves in
in
a little bit.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, I mean, the staff is, like Chief Easter said, they've been working on this since March. They went to, I know the chief and Chief Easter attended FDIC just to look at this issue.
Right.
We also looked at our other municipal and township partners to see what they were using. In regards to the firehouse, it's not reporting to the state and feds, so we have to do
We
something
have to
there.
do something.
In regards to the major piece that brings in a large amount of money is the EMS side and component. So there's a lot of compliance issues. So there's not a lot of EMS softwares out there. So, and we went with ESO last time just on the EMS side of it because of the firehouse.
Right, I remember.
so I have to ask Ms. Frick then, so you brought up a good point. So in our contracts, what, be it for anything to do with life safety, do we not, or can we not add a language to those contracts that says that if at any point during our contractual period you do not fulfill our federal or state requirements, that we have the right to terminate?
I mean, we can always propose it and add it, whether they accept it or not.
But you see what I'm saying? So why would we
Yeah.
want to continue to pay for a product that doesn't meet the federal and state requirements?
So ESO does meet the federal
ESO
and state
does,
requirements,
but
but we
the
only use that
firehouse
for
does
patient
not
care
report
reports.
federally.
Yeah, we don't pay for fire with that. We pay for firehouse, which is a separate piece, and they're no longer offering that support to continue. So even if we tried to pay them in January for support for firehouse, they won't take it. They won't offer support. So that's the one that's the key piece there. That's where all of our incident reports go into, along with our arson investigations and inspections.
What do you estimate it? You said 3 months of training to get people up to speed?
We're anticipating two months of build and training. So we're anticipating being able to build the first month and train the second month. And we're going to leverage the downtime towards the end of the year for this training time, because we can focus a little bit more on it. There's not as much going on within the township. We're leveraging the fact that our neighbors in the area already have a lot of things built that we can copy or steal from. So the EMS treatment flow plans and everything that are within our protocol through the Greater Miami Valley EMS Council are very similar between us and our neighbors, and we're planning to copy as much of that as we can to minimize that.
Does the training create any overtime burden cost?
No, it does not.
Okay. Then, Ms. Walls, maybe a suggestion would be to approve this evening and send a clear message to them that when we come up for the 1-year renewal, that we want a 5-year renewal, because it's only worth 2 months of our life to not.
Sure.
Okay.
And I guess I would probably propose to Alex that when we do this kind of expensive software, that we start have staff look at a 3 or 5 year contract with with an X amount increase.
Defined.
We do that every contract, so
Well,
we
we
know
didn't do
the
it on
board's
this one.
position on this.
They just didn't
Clearly,
respond.
contractors do not like it when we say that to them.
I know they
mean,
don't.
And we try.
But we didn't.
We
We
did
didn't
on
get
this
any-
one.
we
just
didn't
didn't
get
get a
an answer.
response back.
Yeah, but that's
So,
what I want
yeah.
staff to do,
Now-
is push for an answer.
Yeah.
Now we're in a
We're in a
box.
bind,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we
It's
can
not
say
your fault.
yay or
It's
nay, but I mean,
Chief
it's,
Easter,
you
we're
know,
not saying that.
Right.
that's the problem.
But if they don't
Mo-
offer
the-
it, they don't, I mean.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
if they
that-
don't respond, then there could be a wiggle room there.
So, for example, in this case, it was an online. You had to print it off. I mean, go online. It's all digital.
So you don't meet
so
any
it's
people.
it's a kind of a template used for every township and municipality that uses this throughout the country, because
I
image
gotcha.
trend is nationwide.
The legal side of the contract was digital. Yes, we
Yeah.
do meet our sales rep. We did meet the president of the company at FDIC. So we did have FaceTime with people, but the contract and legal aspect is all digital, as they're a nationwide provider. So it does make it a little bit more challenging from there.
Or what you could do is we could pass this tonight. You can go to them and say,
You don't have to tell them that
you don't have to
passed
tell
it.
them that we passed it.
Can we come back and
And
ask
say-
for an amendment at the next meeting to amend the contract? to
Record.
multi-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a video and it's a public record, but yeah. I think they got a year essentially to come up with a 3-year or 5-year deal,
Sure.
hopefully, and then go from there. Okay, and
All right.
we appreciate what you do, and you can't force other people always to do what you want.
Sure.
You can try.
I believe they're getting a large amount of influx of business from this area of Ohio as well, which may be contributing to their unwillingness to do the multi-year contract. I think they want to see where the market share plays out, but we're doing our best to get those answers.
I appreciate your work.
Okay.
There is a motion on page 93.
Make a motion to approve purchase request 22-fire-1512 to Image Trend Inc. for Fire Department Records Management Solution in the amount of $59,592 and to authorize Township Administrator to sign for the board.
Did you want to add in there, they need to,
Not as part of the motion.
second?
With discussion, are you gonna, you made the comment that, Community Risk and Development can use a portion of the software. Are you gonna cost allocate to them?
I'm sure we will do our best to share that.
Your fund is being,
Well,
that's what I'm saying, so.
Yeah, so on the fire side, it still comes under the start of the fire fund. So in regards to the prevention, the risk side of the department, so the inspectors and everything.
Right.
Now, what we're going to be evaluating in regards to on the community side, is there something we can leverage? Because we have been looking at software,
Talked about
zoning
that for a long
software,
time,
right?
yeah.
And what we are waiting on in regards to the community side of it is the county's new program. So, you know, is there, and the county does, if it is successful, the county does plan to open it up to the jurisdictions to be a software that we can use. We could do zoning, permits, and everything there. If they do not, we're looking at what we can do with Image
Within
Trend.
here,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Trustee Kretz,
Yes.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Wallace.
Yes.
Thank you, Board. On page 94 is the biweekly report for the fire department. Chief can answer any of the questions.
A lot of activity in, up at 63.
63 has seen a significant uptick
Yes.
lately in their call volume, along with all the other fire prevention activities and so forth that we have scheduled for them this month. So
You attribute that to anything in particular?
we really don't have anything specific.
Nothing trending.
The weather's been nice and people get out and do things, and obviously accidents happen in the course of that. So
Any other questions?
I think he's been adequately deposed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief.
Thank you, Board. That's all I have.
Okay. Our legal advisory have any comments or
Nothing today.
our fiscal officer, Mr. Rushing?
Nothing further, thank you.
Trustees, Miami Valley Regional Planning, no meeting will be held in November. They've canceled that. So we'll keep you tuned in. TAC,
No meeting. And I'm assuming it'd probably be canceled the same schedule as their full committee.
Regional Planning,
Full commission meets tomorrow night at 6:30. There is nothing for Beavercreek Township on the agenda, just a Cedarville and a Sugar Creek Township and a Master Trails Plan presentation.
okay, thank you. Health Department,
Next meeting is, what is the date? The 3rd of November.
okay. School Superintendent, City Manager,
No meeting with the superintendent. Wednesday, I'm supposed to have a meeting with the city manager, but unfortunately, I gotta cancel that because we're gonna be meeting with a CERB mediator. So, we talked about some of the things that the city manager and I were discussing in regards to the last couple of meetings, including the Dayton Senior Beaver Valley.
right.
I did mention that we would like to send something out to those residents, both on the city and township side, so we are working on that as well.
That's good. Thank you. Restoration Committee, Advisory Board,
We have a meeting scheduled next, it was supposed to be in November, is now going to be in December, and Greene County Wastewater Committee is Wednesday.
okay. Township Association, we have a meeting that's been rescheduled to November 1st, which is Tuesday, next Tuesday. It'll be with Greene County Public Library. We will be taking a vote, so anybody that can come, we will be taking a vote about the new changes in the dispatch charges as a township. And so if you have opinions, we would be happy to have you there.
When is it?
Tuesday. And they please RSVP for their caterer. Investment oversight?
The only thing I would just touch, Mr. Rushing, I know you do it continuously, and we've brought it up before when he was here, but just with current bond market fluctuations, if there's any opportunistic buys or shuffles that the township can do, we might just ask him to, I know he does it routinely, obviously it's his job, but if there's anything out there that we can do to take advantage of the market.
Absolutely. Actually, I just purchased a piece of commercial paper last week for 4.2%. So
That's
we're
good news.
quite well.
Mm-hmm.
Good
And
news.
there's a Federal Reserve meeting on November the 2nd. Their anticipation is a 75 basis point increase.
Cool. Any other information for the good of the township? I'll call for a motion.
Thank you to Paragon, thank you to staff.
And congratulations to our new road boss.
And deputy boss.
Deputy boss.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Trustee Crutz?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Wallace?
Yes. Thank you very much, everyone.